Ai Sugiyama has taken over the number 2 spot from Naoko Sawamatsu.
First point. Monica Seles, born in Novi Sad, Yugoslavia. She's 23 years old. She lives in Sarasota, Florida now. Novi Sad is not far from the Hungarian border of Yugoslavia. Currently ranked number 1 in the world alongside Steffi Graf.
Nice start for Ai Sugiyama as her bench cheers her on. Again, she plays very much like the other Japanese players. Compact swings, fairly flat. Her swings are a little bit longer than Kimiko Date's, but very similar in that they play very basic tennis. Seles had set it up with the big return. I think you're going to see Monica play a lot of balls to the Sugiyama forehand. Her backhand is better. She prefers to play the backhand. She's got a good forehand, but it's the side that can be a little bit vulnerable. You have trouble with the toss in this opening service game.
Monica Seles, doubles partner at Wimbledon this year. None other than my partner here in the booth. So Betsy knows a lot about Monica. And we'll talk about Monica Seles when we come back. Japan leading 1 game to love. First set, best of 3. Match number 2 this Fed Cup weekend in Japan. Semi-final of the Fed Cup, USA versus Japan. Monica Seles and Ai Sugiyama battling it out here in match number 2 of the weekend. We were talking about the Japanese and how many top women players they have right now, and it's really astounding.
Well, it really is. You're looking at 8 players right there in the top 110, and Date, Sugiyama, and Sawamatsu, all top tennis players. Mano Endo was at one time 26th in the world. All those players are very well respected on the tour.
At Wimbledon this year, there were more USA players than from any other country. And then the British, because they get so many wild cards. But then it was the Japanese. So the 2 powerhouses of women's tennis. What's her mood, Betsy? What's Monica Seles' mood like? And I ask you that in the context of her not having won either the French or Wimbledon.
Yeah, I mean, I think Monica's frame of mind is still quite good. She's still very eager to play. What's been frustrating is the number of injuries that she's had. She hasn't been able to really consistently work on her fitness, and she finds that frustrating.
Is her shoulder getting better, or is it still a problem for her?
Well, it doesn't really get better. She's going to have to take some quite an extended period of time off, or possibly an impending surgery lingers out there for her. But she's maintaining, because she does get about an hour and a half to 2 hours of therapy on it daily. That is Kyoko Nagatsuka, who will play doubles with Ai Sugiyama tomorrow. Lindsay Davenport cheering her teammate on. She's happy, sitting there on the sideline with a win under her belt, beating Japanese #1 player Kimiko Date.
And a terrific win, too. She played beautifully. No nerves. She lost the first 2 games and then just blew Date away.
There's a typical looking ground stroke that we've become accustomed to seeing from Celis. Set up by the big serve, gets a weak reply, and punishes something short.
It's 1 game all in the first set. Best of 3, match number 2 of this Fed Cup weekend. Tomorrow night, join us again, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Monica Seles will take on Kimiko Date, the 2 #1 players from their respective countries. And you'll also see the ultimate match as well, or at least highlights of the ultimate match. That's 10:30 p.m. tomorrow night here on ESPN2.
Ai Sugiyama got herself an awful lot of confidence earlier this year when she beat, for the first time ever, a top 10 player when she beat Jana Novotny at Lipton. And she beat her handily in straight sets before she lost in the round of 16 to Irina Spurleya. Just a year ago, Sugiyama's ranking was in the 90s. She had a good end of last year, beating a couple top players, and started to really believe in her game. She beat Spurleya, Zena Garrison-Jackson, actually beat Lindsay Davenport by default, and got to her second career final in Oakland.
Do you think it's a little bit like Michael Chang, you know, wins the French championships, and then Sampras the next year wins the U.S. Open, and suddenly Courier and Agassi say, well, if they can do it, we can do it. Kimiko Date makes her move, and then the rest say, if she can do it, we can do it.
Absolutely, and Kimiko Date gives Etsuko Inoue a lot of credit. She was the lone Japanese player back in 1985, I remember at the U.S. Open. And of course, Naoko Sawamatsu's aunt, Kazuko Sawamatsu, was a world-class tennis player.
Break points for the USA. Monica Seles' first Fed Cup match. She had considered playing in last year's final against Spain, but was injured, right?
Yep.
A break of serve for the USA. Monica Seles leading by 2 games to 1. She'll serve after this. It is the USA versus Japan, the semi-final of the Fed Cup for this year. The format is this. It's 5 matches altogether. Lindsay Davenport, Kimiko Date played. That's the #1 versus the #2 on day 1. Monica Seles is the #1 for the USA, taking on Ai Sugiyama, the #2 for Japan. Then tomorrow, the opposite, Monica Seles will take on Kimiko Date, the 2 #1. Davenport and Sugiyama, the 2 #2s. And then the doubles. It's going to be Lindsay Davenport and Gigi Fernandez against Nagatsuka and Sugiyama of Japan. But the way things are going now with Monica Seles with an early break, match #2, it could be over after 3. Too close, I mean, too early to call that at this stage, though, but a big advantage for the USA when Lindsay Davenport beat Kimiko Date in match 1.
Big serve from Seles. And Monica has a big serve. It's been frustrating for her because of her shoulder. She's been unable to really use her serve as a weapon as consistently as she would have liked.
Is she not hurting it more by playing, Betsy?
I don't think she is, as long as she does take care of it. I think she took enough time off to heal it well enough. But it is caused from a looseness in that shoulder, which won't go away. And for her to ever be 100% in the shoulder, she's going to have some surgery. But she could get away with where she is now, but I don't think that she wants to. She doesn't like the distraction.
Long. 30-all.
Might have been a completely different story had Seles been able to play the Fed Cup final against Spain last November, but Monica had knee problems and had a little bit of a shin splint and a sore ankle. Didn't play anything after the U.S. Open, only played 2 tournaments last year in her comeback. Won Toronto, lost in the final to Graf at the U.S. Open, and then, of course, missed the Fed Cup tie in April because of her shoulder.
Betsy, give us a feel for her thought process in coming back after the stabbing and then out for nearly 3 years. How, as you watch this replay again, how did she decide to come back?
Well, I think she made certainly a couple of attempts to come back, but just wasn't healed from the emotional trauma that it caused her. And I think in her heart she always knew she would come back to play tennis because it's been such a way of life for her, and she so much loves the game. And I think she didn't want to come back until she felt she was that was completely behind her and she could do nothing but focus on her tennis again. Big
Game to the USA. Monica Seles retains the breaker serve. It is 3-1. The USA leads Japan by 1 match to none after Kamiko Date lost. Went down in flames, actually, to Lindsay Davenport.
There's a very aggressive point from Sugiyama, and it was set up with the first strike of the ball on the serve. She got Seles on the defensive and then took advantage of a high ball and took it out of the air. Sugiyama probably has the best serve of all of the women players playing tennis in Japan. She's the most athletic one, and she gets more pace and more variation on her serve than the other players. Like we saw Date trying to do against Davenport. They have fairly flat, compact swings. It enables them to have good timing as they take the ball early. I mean, the ball is bouncing up 1.5 feet off the ground, and they're meeting it. All the Japanese players have good footwork. They move very well.
Japan hold on, but Sugiyama is down a breaker serve. Monica Seles will serve after we take a break. It's the Fed Cup semifinal. You know, it was a heck of an effort for Kamiko Date. She was already famous in Japan, but they'd made her an even bigger superstar. This is only the 2nd year of the new Fed Cup format. called the Federation Cup until last year. Now the matches are played like Davis Cup on a home and away basis. And for my money, that was a very good move, because here you've got the USA and Japan. In Japan, 7,000 people. The place is jammed. They really into this. It has helped women's tennis and the Fed Cup.
And it is a completely sold-out arena here. In fact, the tickets were sold out on the second day after they went on sale. I think if they had held it in the stadium that held twice as many people, they would have sold out as well. April Fed Cup tie was held in Tokyo. This is in Nagoya. Japan's thinking is that they want to move the ties around the country. It's played on the Supreme Court and a little bit slower than the court that the players have been practicing on. But it's still a fairly quick surface. That is the captain of the Japanese team, Toshiro Sakai. It was Ai Sugiyama, and this lady right here, Kyoko Nagatsuka, and it was Sugiyama who hit the winning shot to bring the win to Japan over Germany in that doubles match against Graf and Huber. Very good doubles player, Sugiyama. Again, because she has a good return of serve, she's not afraid to go in and volley. Wow, you can see Stellis trying to penetrate and attack the forehand side of Sugiyama. Gets a short one, and you can say goodbye to that one.
Stellis holds on for the USA. She maintains the lead with the break in the first set. It is 4-2. The best riders in the world take to the streets of France in the most important cycle race of all, the Tour de France, presented by Michelin, ESPN2, tomorrow, stage 14, 115 miles worth at 10 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Ai Sugiyama to serve, 2-4, first set.
Monica likes to play and has always played. She was a player that consistently hit harder and closer to the lines than anyone else.
She missed it.
Sugiyama would love to have that one over again.
I'm not sure that the crowd realized that that was out.
Yeah, she set that point up so well.
Big point, Seles has a break in hand. She's looking for an insurance break.
These two have never played against each other, so Sugiyama is not really that aware of, as we look at Kimiko Date.
Not very happy.
No, she lost the opening match to Lindsay Davenport. But Sugiyama has never seen the pace and the power from Seles. It's very unusual to see Monica Seles in her own analysis of her match and her loss in the quarterfinals at the French Open against Jana Novotná. She said she played a little tentatively, played scared on the big points. First loss at the French Open since 1989.
Terrific stuff, and this Japanese crowd appreciated, even though it was the USA's Monica Seles who won the point.
That was a game point for Sugiyama, and Billie Jean King up out of her chair, yelling some encouragement to Seles. There was the shot right there, a one-handed forehand, a shot that Seles came back after a 2.5-year absence with a real weapon.
Deuce.
Sugiyama just caught unaware with just the pace from the return of serve from Seles. So from a game point is now a break point for Seles to take a 5-2 lead.
Seles has never lost to a Japanese player on this team. She's taken out Savamatsu 4 times and Kimiko Date twice. And she has a commanding lead in the first set. 2 breaks. She will serve for the first set. We'll take a break. Fed Cup action. Japan and the U.S. So Betsy Nagelson, hope you're enjoying this coverage of the 1996 Fed Cup between the U.S. and Japan. We're in Nagoya, Japan, a port city between Tokyo and Osaka that hosts this Fed Cup competition. Semi-final action. Japan with a big win over Germany in the first round of this year's competition. The U.S. with a close squeaker over Austria in Austria. Seles serving for the first set.
There's a look at the numbers so far in this match, serving identical percentages, but the winners from Seles is the key. She's come out smoking. She knows she wants to go for it.
You know, I've never seen her play a match other than, at least how it looks to me, that she's going for it, Betsy. But after the French Championships, and again after her loss at Wimbledon, she said that she didn't think she was going for it enough.
No, I mean, she was in such a position she's absolutely never faced before. At very important moments, she was tentative. You know, but to Seles' credit, she has not been able to play as much tennis, worked as hard on or off the court as she would have liked to and needs to play at the level that she's playing at. Every time she's gotten herself in pretty good shape in terms of tennis, an injury's come along, and she's had her fair share since she's come back. As Monica says, you know, to be away from the game for as long as she was, and then all of a sudden demand that much from your body It was a difficult task, but she understands the importance of it.
Her comeback last year was one of the remarkable sports stories of the year, no less. Coming back and winning the Canadian, getting to the final of the U.S. Open. Monica Seles' game is appreciated by Billie Jean King, captain of the U.S. team. She wins the first set easily after Lindsay Davenport's effort in match 1, the USA leading this Fed Cup tie by 1-0. Monica Seles could make it 2, and 3 is the magic number in this 5-match series. 2 matches today, 3 tomorrow.
Kamiko Date. I do think that what Seles accomplished was just beyond comprehension, to be away from the game that long and come back and win her first tournament with ease, with all the top players in it. Then get to the finals of her first Grand Slam
and how close
over 2.5 years. And she had a set point against Graf in that first set, lost in 3.
Second, yeah.
Yep. I just think it was frustrating after she won the Australian Open. When she hurt her shoulder, that it was just another very long and tedious injury that kept her out again for about 6 weeks. And she had struggled at the end of last year with a tendonitis in her knee and didn't play one tournament after the U.S. Open, and sort of worked hard mentally and physically to get ready for the beginning of the year, and comes down with another injury. And this is a player that's not used to distractions. That's always been so single-minded and focused.
Well, when you're talking about Monica Seles, the truth is that she was a candidate for maybe the best player of all time when she was stabbed.
Yeah, there were 10 Grand Slam events played in her absence. Steffi Graf won 6 of those. And you've got to believe that Seles, who was dominating the game in those couple of years, in a very short career, only 4.5 years. She was only 19 years old when she was stabbed.
In fact, Betsy, she won 7 of the 8 Grand Slams that she played before the stabbing. She skipped a couple like the 91 Wimbledon. But amazing. She dominated.
Well, she really did. She really did have her measure on Steffi Graf as well.
Japan. Monica Seles won the first set easily. 1 game to love. Sugiyama of Japan. Monica Seles won the first set behind 2 breaks.
In the same nation.